In a notable incident on June 12, 2020, a confrontation between an Amazon delivery driver named Deja Murphy and property owner Keith Miller in Lowell, Indiana, has brought to light the complexities of enforcing laws on private property. The incident, originally reported by the Times of Northwest Indiana and discussed on Lackluster's channel, involves issues related to traffic laws, private property rights, criminal confinement, and police authority. The situation unfolded when Miller, convinced that Murphy was speeding on his property, employed his truck to block her exit.
Good luck, buddy.
No. Bottom line is, I need your ID.
Sure.
You're going to pull your truck in your driveway.
Yep.
I'm going to get her information. I'm going to do a report, and we're going to go about our day.
I'm going to get my wallet from my office.
Huh?
No,
you're not. You're going to just give me your name and information.
Oh, sure.
I'm going to.
You want me to write it down for you?
Yeah. I'm not spending all day with this. This is
I
ridiculous.
asked him, we have since put cameras up. I just said,
What's your last name?
Miller, M-I-L-L-E-R.
He proceeded to demand her identification, thereby initiating a tense standoff. Responding to Murphy's call, Officer John from the Lake County Sheriff's Department arrived at the scene. He clarified that he lacked jurisdiction to enforce speeding laws on private property, igniting a discourse on the distinction between public roads and private driveways. Indiana's legal framework underscores the limited jurisdiction of traffic laws on private property. State law specifies that highway regulations pertain to publicly maintained roads accessible for vehicular travel. In contrast, a private driveway, such as Miller's property, doesn't fall within this category. Therefore, Murphy's alleged speeding on the driveway couldn't be penalized as a traffic violation under Indiana law. However, exceptions do exist. In certain cases, police can enforce traffic rules on private property where the public's invited. This enforcement relies on local ordinances and agreements between property owners and law enforcement authorities. These provisions empower the police to regulate traffic and parking on private property under specific circumstances.
Thank you. Sorry. Pull forward.
Okay, ma'am. I need your license.
Okay. And may I ask why did you want to?
Because you called the police, he called the police,
Just making
and
sure.
I'm called here. That's why I need your information. That's all the information I need. And he's upset because you were speeding. I told him he couldn't do what he's doing. And you're going to go on your way, and if you have any issues, you and your company can stop delivering here.
Okay.
How's that?
He came to my door. That's what bothered me. He came in my door, opened the door, told me to get the hell out my door.
While these local ordinances may not encompass the full scope of state traffic laws, they still grant authorities the capacity to uphold specific regulations. Miller's actions also raise questions about potential criminal charges. Officer Marshall suggested that his conduct might align with the crime of criminal confinement, defined as knowingly or intentionally restricting another person's liberty without consent.
That's harassment.
You know what? Let's stop.
Okay.
We're going to do a report. We're going to go about our day.
It's harassment, though.
Everything's everything. You know what?
That's harassment.
There'll be a report on file.
While Murphy's situation didn't precisely match this definition, it highlighted the broader issue of maintaining public safety and individual rights on private property.
To the prosecutor's office?
This is Lake County?
Yeah.
Yes. We'll give you a case number.
Yeah, I want the case number, please.
It'll be on the report, sir.
What's your name?
It'll be on the report. It's Marshall.
Marshall? Okay.
And tell your friend on the phone, I'm not upset with you.
That's my brother.
Oh, you know what?
You know where everything's going on? That's the only reason why
Everyone's fine. We're here. I don't need your brother telling me my job and what we need to do. I think you need to get a hold of your supervisor and tell him
no, we already talked.
Okay.
She was on the phone when all of this
Get hold of your
happened.
supervisor. What's the phone number to reach that?
219-779.
The incident also touched on the concept of harassment. However, Indiana law defines harassment as involving communication with an intent to harass, annoy, or alarm another person without legitimate communication. Because this definition doesn't cover in-person interactions, Miller's actions toward Murphy, while unsettling, might not fall within the legal definition of harassment. Fundamentally, the incident underscores the scope of police authority concerning private property and the need to strike a balance between individual rights and public welfare. Indiana's police power enables the state to enact reasonable restrictions on private property to ensure community safety, health, and morality. While the jurisdiction of traffic laws on private driveways remains limited, criminal violations, regardless of the location, can still lead to police intervention. On September 29, 2019, Deputy James and Deputy Zhang from the Shelby County Sheriff's Office in Tennessee, a potentially dangerous engagement unfolded due to their reckless actions. The incident began when the officers responded to a call regarding a package theft based on doorbell camera footage. The complainant, Mr. Aaron Branch's girlfriend's mother, alleged that a neighbor had taken a package from her porch. Upon arriving at the scene, Deputy James and Deputy Zhang engage with the witnesses, specifically Ms. Vernita Eccles, who identified the neighbor across the street as a suspect. She further mentioned that the neighbor might have a bench warrant for her arrest. Within minutes, the officers made their way across the street to confront the neighbor, seemingly without validating the claims made by the callers. Surprisingly, Deputy James immediately announced his intention to arrest the neighbor without properly investigating the situation. It was during this engagement that Mr. Branch, the original recorder of the incident, arrived on the scene while openly carrying a firearm on his hip. He questioned the officers about the package's ownership, leading to Deputy James ordering him to disarm for officer safety. However, Tennessee law permits citizens to bear arms for self-defense, and there's no requirement to disarm themselves around officers unless there's a legitimate safety concern.
Yeah. Okay, now that box that came off her front porch, did y'all see a name on that box by any chance?
We didn't get a chance to look at it because it was stolen before we got a chance to.
Now, if we show you guys what the box looked like, how you doing, sir? Are you an officer, sir?
Put your hands up, man.
I don't need to put my hands up.
This is for officer safety.
I don't need to put my hands up.
Hold on,
Get your hands up. Put your hands up, dude.
The situation escalated as Deputy James unholstered his firearm, which Mr. Branch rightly challenged. This action was unnecessary and potentially dangerous escalation, as Mr. Branch was not displaying any behavior that indicated he posed a threat to the officers. Deputy James cited a state statute to justify his actions, but his interpretation was flawed considering the circumstances. Furthermore, the officers threatened to arrest Mr. Branch and his girlfriend for disorderly conduct, despite being on private property.
The proper procedures is you're supposed to ask if he has his handgun permit.
You don't know the part. Okay.
Yes, I do.
Hey.
Yes, I do. We went to the class. Yes, I do.
I don't need to keep my hands up.
Put your gun away. Yes, put your gun away.
This is for officer safety.
You asked to see his permit.
Ma'am.
Okay, can he just step in the house then?
No, I need that car.
We're not talking to you,
I'm
man.
in my car right now.
We're not talking to you right now. We're not talking to you
right now.
right now.
Go in the house then.
I don't need to go in there. I haven't committed a crime.
You have a permit.
We're not
saying.
Where's your permit?
Amber, record Officer James. We're gonna make a start today. I'm gonna make a start at James today. I'm gonna make you a start, James. I'm gonna make you a start today.
Step away, man. We're not talking to you.
Okay.
Let me see your permit.
Okay.
Keep this arm up. Let me see your permit.
I don't need to keep anything. I can do whatever the
This is officer safety. No, sir.
do whatever do what you do. Do your
Police
job.
officers
Hold on.
Police officers are in your presence.
The First Amendment protects speech on private property, and the officer's threats infringed upon this right. Legal precedents underline the special protection for personal liberties within one's home. The officer's subsequent behavior with an unidentified woman, initially detained due to the reported theft, raises Fourth Amendment concerns. While reasonable suspicion justified her initial detention, the officers extended her handcuffed detention in a police cruiser even after she provided evidence that could have dispelled their suspicions. Courts have ruled that such extended detentions could transform investigative stops into arrest, violating the Fourth Amendment.
There it is.
That's not,
Okay.
that's not
You go to
how
law
law
school?
works.
You go
I
to
did
law
go to law school.
Okay, did you pass the bar?
I did
So
pass
you're
the
a
bar.
lawyer.
I am a lawyer.
Okay.
I don't have to
Just
disarm
go in the
myself.
house.
That's not how the
Just
law
go in the
works.
house.
Come here.
I'm not
Come here.
going anywhere with
Come
you.
here.
Just go
I
in
have
the
not
house.
committed a crime. They know I haven't committed a crime.
Okay,
They know I have not
Everybody
committed a crime.
Huh?
Amber, I want you to record them. I'm gonna make stars out of both of them.
ahead.
James and Zing. I'm gonna make big stars out of them. I love tyrants. I love tyrants like yourself.
Dude, either you step inside or you go to
I'm a
jail.
private. I'm a law-abiding citizen.
5, 4,
I'm not your child.
Wait, hold on, wait. I'm
I'm not his child. Bro, you're not scaring nobody with that fucking permit.
question over there.
You're not talking about.
Despite these issues, Mr. Branch managed to de-escalate the situation through assertive dialogue. He challenged the officer's actions while maintaining composure and asserting his rights. Eventually, the officers released the detained woman, but not without her being held for an excessive duration. Now, let's move on to the next investigation. In an incident that occurred on July 3, 2021, officers from the Elkhart Police Department were called to respond to a disturbance at a hotel in Elkhart, Indiana. The officers stopped 3 teenagers whom they believed to be responsible for the disturbance and demanded that they identify themselves. As tensions began to rise, one of the bystanders at the scene started recording the encounter.
It doesn't matter. Talking about us. It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. He doesn't want you guys back here. And to verify that, I need your names so that if you do show up again, you can then go to jail. Okay? So what is your name? Before I put you all in handcuffs and take you all to jail. Okay. Then you're gonna. I ain't going to jail. What is your name?
Y'all ain't got no right man.
Yeah, we do. We waiting.
Despite the potential escalation, the officers did not conduct a thorough investigation into the situation. According to best practices for police interactions, responding officers are expected to perform comprehensive preliminary investigations, including interviewing witnesses to accurately determine suspects. However, the officers in this case seemed uninterested in investigating further and instead continued to insist that the teenagers provide their identification.
Because we can't verify that you are a parent or guardian. We can't do that. So, again, I'm going to ask again before you all go into that. Does that make sense? What is your name? We can't just release it. Let me talk to them. Let's talk about it.
But if they weren't part of the confusion, then I don't understand what's going on.
I told you multiple times.
The boys and bystanders maintained that they were not involved in the initial disturbance, but the officers did not seem willing to consider this possibility. The officers' conduct raised questions about their failure to follow proper investigation procedures, even though there is no legal obligation for police officers to conduct in-depth investigations.
You're not in trouble, man. But if you keep playing this game with us,
I want him to come out here before I say anything else.
They gone. They went out the back door. They went out the back door.
No, I'm talking about the manager that said that we was because he know it's not us.
No, it wasn't them.
Exactly. That's why I want him to come out here.
He doesn't want to come out here right now. Okay,
Man,
he has a job to do, which is
in
inside. No, because he doesn't want you inside. He doesn't want you on the property.
He don't know it.
The bystander recording the incident questioned the officer's authority to detain the teenagers based on Indiana's trespassing laws. He argued that since the teenagers had not refused to leave the property when asked, they could not be considered trespassing. The officer countered by citing Indiana trespassing law, which allows charges to be brought against individuals who knowingly or intentionally refuse to leave private property after being asked to do so by the property owner or their agent. However, legal precedent indicated that a police officer who is neither the property owner nor an agent of the owner cannot create a trespass violation merely by asking someone to leave and then arresting them for noncompliance. In this instance, the officers were acting in their capacity as police officers and not as agents of the property owner, so their detention of the teenagers on suspicion of trespassing seemed unjustified.
You know how easy this is?
These are not them.
These are not them. So would you like these gentlemen also trespass on the property?
We didn't have nothing to do with it. Yes. No, they had nothing to do with it.
All right, man, get my stand up.
The other dude turned out the gun.
It was taller boys who are probably already all gone because they knew that you were coming and they don't want to
That's what
deal
I
with police.
said until he come out here.
Fair
enough, but when I walked in, he pointed to you gentlemen.
Man, that's all him to come out. You got money for nothing. You got money for nothing. It wasn't that hard for him to come out here and clear it up. You trying to put him in here to take away
Because you're not cooperating.
You're not doing his job
right. It's easier for me to control the situation.
I
am doing my job right.
See, y'all don't know.
What's your name, badge number?
He was talking about. They was in there talking about gunplay with this dude, man. That's
Sure,
what I said.
and
Y'all
when I
didn't
got
have
here,
nothing to do with
listen,
it.
when I got here,
Yeah.
he pointed to these gentlemen.
We told you it was
Okay.
The description that he gave.
I can't take your word for it when he pointed to you.
Furthermore, Indiana law does not have a stop and identify statute that mandates individuals to provide identification during criminal investigations. The statute requires individuals to provide identification to law enforcement officers, and that only applies when someone is stopped for an infraction or ordinance violation. This means that the officer's demand for identification lacked a legal basis.
He did. He pointed you already in there, bro. He pointed to you. Okay.
Name and badge number, please. Is an Elkhart policy for you to identify yourself to the public?
My guess is they probably already left.
Okay.
Because they all probably have their licenses.
That's fine.
And they drove off because they didn't want to deal with you guys.
The situation escalated further when one officer claimed that the hotel manager had misidentified the teenagers as the perpetrators of the disturbance. Despite the assertion from the bystanders that the detained teenagers were not involved, the officers seemed unwilling to reconsider their actions. The bystanders and teens remained composed, and with the intervention of the bystanders, the officers were eventually compelled to release the teenagers. Now let's take a look at another investigation. On August 7th, 2020, officers Jordan Horn and Dalton Martin of the McDowell County Sheriff's Office of West Virginia visited the 66-year-old named Donnie Harrison and his wife Ventress, who is 63, as they were sitting on the front porch of the house, which was rented from the ex-military officer named Jason. The deputy came in and asked questions related to 4 marijuana plants that were planted nearby. So let's watch the video further and see what happens.
Just because in the season that we're living in, I think it's important that I have your names.
What do you mean, man?
A lot of crazy stuff going on.
When the law enforcement officials came to the Harrisons' home, the elderly woman greeted them by saying "season" before inquiring about the officers' identities. When the officer inquired as to what she meant by that, she responded that there are numerous occurrences taking place and that she's inquiring about the name of their security.
Police officers in this area to come up and say, "Are you growing marijuana?" That is preposterous to me.
Is just a question, man.
Yeah, well, I get that.
She gives off the impression of being irritated as she asserts that the officers from the surrounding area came and questioned them if they were growing marijuana there, which the speaker finds to be a ridiculous request.
And so then my only question, use your names, just so it's okay in my own heart and mind. And when I say the season we're living in, you know the season we're living in.
Y'all concerned about something over here at this house?
In order to defend himself, the officer claims that it is only a question, to which the lady responds in an unprompted manner that she understands, and she's merely requesting the officer's name for her own mental and emotional well-being.
This house?
No, that house.
Yes.
What's the problem?
Who lives there?
Mr. Ferguson? He's probably there now. He's 79.
Okay.
Jason, the owner of the residence, interjects himself into the conversation and inquires of the police about whether or not they checked the other house, where the police will inquire about the person who resides there by asking for their name.
All right. What's your name, sir?
Jason Tart.
Jason Tart?
Tart.
And what do you mean by the season we're living in, ma'am?
Sir. What do you need? You got any questions for me?
No, I'll collect some information from you in a minute, your name and date of birth and such.
The lady responds to the person who's living in that house.
What do you need my information for?
You own these 2 homes, correct?
What
okay,
these 2 homes got to do with that?
These 2 homes is near that marijuana grow, so I'd just like to have your name.
You know how many people go through here?
I understand.
That's not going to...
The officer then asks the name of the individual standing beside the lady, where Jason introduces himself and asks the lady what does she mean by the term season, in which the owner of the house jumps in and says what the officer requires.
Do you one bit of good?
Okay. Well, sir, I'm going to need your name and date of birth, and I have that.
I feel comfortable giving you my name.
Where the officer replies by stating he is just collecting information.
Okay, well, this is a criminal investigation. You own these 2 homes, so by law, you do have to give me your name and date of birth, sir.
If he gives you a reason, yes, you do.
Reason for what?
Because of the marijuana grow.
It's not on my property.
Okay, well, again, I have reason to believe that...
Jason asks why is he collecting information, to which the officer replies that he owns the property and his property is nearby where the marijuana was grown. Jason responds that it's not on his property. The officer states that he believes it can be a possibility that the nearby houses are also connected with the marijuana planting, so Jason has had to give his name and date of birth due to law regulations.
Scared you?
Who says that?
By asking you a question?
Who comes up and asks? That's crazy.
And it scared you?
I'm trying to understand what...
It scared you by me asking you a question.
Growing marijuana?
And that's a question. To say somebody scared you because they asked you a question is ridiculous.
That's preposterous.
Go ahead and give me your name, sir.
Wait.
First name.
It's ridiculous to you, sir.
Yes, ma'am.
But it's not ridiculous.
Your first name.
I'm not giving you my information.
Sir, if you refuse to give me your information, I'm going to arrest you.
That's fine. My property has nothing to do with any marijuana whatsoever. You're going to arrest me if I don't give you my name and date of birth.
It's obstructing an officer.
Jason Tart initially refused to give his name and date of birth when the deputies requested it. He argued that the alleged marijuana plants were not on his property and therefore he did not need to provide his information. However, the deputies insisted that he was required by law to provide his name and date of birth due to the proximity of his properties to the alleged marijuana plants.
No, I'm hindering you from doing your job.
Really going out off the
this is how you guys.
This is bad.
This is
112 control.
This is how you operate.
This is a wrap.
I'm hindering you from doing your job.
Y'all need to go inside. Again, you two go inside. Go inside.
I'm afraid.
Go inside. Go inside. No, go inside as of right now.
Tell me why.
Go inside.
What are you doing,
Step off
man?
the porch. Step off the porch.
I'll step off.
Go inside.
What are you doing? This is unnecessary for
Sir,
you to be
go
doing
inside.
He's standing on his own porch.
Go inside.
During the interaction, when Mr. Harrison began filming the encounter between the deputies and Mr. Tart, Deputy Martin forcefully pushed the Harrisons into their home. He specifically pushed Mr. Harrison into the doorway and closed the door behind him, effectively preventing him from continuing to record the incident.
Come on.
Look, man, don't listen. You don't have to listen,
You're
man.
being recorded.
Listen. Listen. I can walk. Without you putting your damn hands on me. You understand? I have not broken the law.
The officers forcefully started putting handcuffs on Jason. He tried to stop the cop and told them he can walk wherever they want him to, but don't put the handcuffs on, stating that he didn't break any law to be handcuffed.
Walk to the vehicle. Well, walk to the vehicle, sir. You're being recorded.
Hands on me. I give you no reason to touch me.
I'm going to arrest you then. Place your hands behind your back.
Uncalled for.
Place your hands behind your back.
Put your hand behind
Place your hands behind your back.
Just relax, okay?
Listen.
Relax. Place your hands behind your back. Please place your hands behind your back.
My hand is behind my.
Place your
it
hands
only
behind-
takes one of you.
Place your hands.
Look, let him do it.
The officers then directed Jason to walk towards their vehicle. Still, the argument was going on, and Jason stated that it was all uncalled for. The police officer put the handcuffs on Jason at that point, and told the other officer to leave his hand and let the other officer put on the cuffs.
He owns two properties right here on this Fabulous Drive road. We located a marijuana grow, probably not 100 foot, 50 foot from this last property of his, and he just won't give us his name, date of birth.
The officers took Jason towards their vehicle, made him sit inside, and updated their heads about the situation, stating that Jason's not providing his ID and credentials when asked for, and lives approximately 50 to 100 feet away from the scene where the marijuana was found.
Yeah, boys. They a white male, black male.
Black male.
The person on the other end asked about Jason's appearance, and when heard that he was a black man, the officer put marijuana inside the car's back as a piece of evidence, due to which Mr. Jason was charged with obstruction of the law officer, but the case was allegedly dismissed as the prosecutor on October 2020, as Officer Martin failed to appear in front of the court. The statement highlights that despite the potential challenges posed by qualified immunity, it acknowledges that the deputies did not behave in a professional, calm, and polite manner throughout the encounter. It recognizes the efforts made by Mr. Jason and the Harrisons to exercise their constitutional rights and take appropriate legal action following the incident. The statement commends their courage in initiating a lawsuit after their rights were infringed upon. It expresses curiosity about the outcome of the legal issues involved and how they will be resolved in the future.